this war, I know that we've commented on it before. War has been going on for 3.5 years, and this time around we see that a government building is under the attack. Before I bring in the US question between Russia and Ukraine, I want to get your take on how this war is escalating.
You know, it is very unfortunate. All wars are unfortunate. It causes loss of lives and properties and affects the nation. And especially on Ukraine and Russian war, you see, it was all, I was in Soviet Union in 1975, and we were, that time it was Soviet Union, and Ukraine, other than the Russia, was the largest component state of the Soviet Union. And whoever thought that this country will break, this Soviet Union will break up and the two of them will come and start fighting. And in fact, Ukraine has provided some of the leaderships of the whole of the Soviet Union, including Nikita Khrushchev, who was for a long time Prime Minister he was the main man in Soviet Union. So this war is, you know, we have discussed in the past the reasons behind, but once again, if I recollect that Putin thought that the war will be over a weekend, you see, and in fact on the day one his troops were already in Kiev. But then, you see, as they say that war, all the planning that you do will work for only 24 hours. After that, you know, things can change, and that has happened. Now, as you said, you are 3.5 years and so much loss of lives for both the countries and the economy, and in fact the whole world is affected. The world is affected. And now you see that, as you said, that one of the largest attack these Russians have launched. Similarly, in the past, the Ukrainians have, last time we were discussing, they had launched an attack, I mean, with drones all across Russia, and some of them are deep inside in Siberia, and using the various AI components and the guidance systems and all. So we really don't see an end. And as Trump said that if I get elected, the war will be over in, you know, he gave about, I don't know, 48 hours. But it has been proved that now he's also, after meeting Putin in Alaska, there is no end in sight. And with the European powers still backing Ukraine, and Russia is adamant on certain conditions, I don't see any quick end to the war, but all wars end up with negotiation.
Yes.
I hope good sense prevail, and with some adjustment of the border, like already say Crimea used to be part of Russia before also. It was given to Ukraine by Khrushchev, who was an Ukrainian. And I think with some adjustment on the eastern border of the Ukraine and some negotiated settlement will have to be arrived at. And Trump is trying to persuade the Western European nations to join with him in that sort of pressurizing Ukraine to agree on some issues. And Ukraine wants naturally a guarantee to its border, and some sort of guarantee must be given to them so that there is an incentive on Ukraine to come to negotiating table. Also, the assurance to Russia that this NATO boundary will not be extended and Ukraine will remain a neutral country. Those sort of things we must arrive at before, you know, further loss of lives and properties and damage to the economy is caused by this war.
Regarding a very similar topic in the United States, but let me grab everyone's attention towards Mr. Ishfaq Ilahi Chowdhury. I think he was trying to add on to a matter here.
I was just trying to say, I mean, some of the action by US President, it appears to me that it is hurting the US image, first of all hurting the US economy, and also the US image of a progressive democratic country throughout the world. Just maybe Ambassador Norman is not aware, just 2 days back, some Bangladeshi who have overstayed their visa in United States were brought in by a chartered aircraft to Bangladesh and shackled and handcuffed all the way from United States. This was not necessary at all. If they had arrested them and asked the Bangladesh government that you take them back in 48 hours or 24 hours, I am sure Bangladesh government would have agreed, and they are not violent, they are not terrorists. But imagine such a long journey of maybe more than 24 hours, and they were in chain. So, and this not only it creates a bad impression of public image problem for the United States here, but internationally also it does not give a picture of a state that we look forward to as a symbol of democracy and civilization.
Obviously, also a symbol of hope.
Hope.
Abu Saeed, this is a character who was killed before and after of a government. That's one example. And then there is Ryder Afan, I forgot his last name, who was murdered by the enforcement in Indonesia, had sprawling protests across various cities, angered people were seen burning down the parliament. And today, according to Mr. Norman Floyd Barnes, apocalypse now threats are concealing the seeds of political weakness in Donald Trump's administration. Any day now we can see how the enforcement is going to be enforced onto the regular citizens of America. Do you think that there could be some kind of regime change in America itself, given Donald Trump's political ambitions?
No, I don't think there will be a regime change. That's the American democracy has a very solid foundation. But what I am wondering is that there might be a revolt within the Republican Party.
Yes.
And if that sort of situation happens, there has been in the past, for example, impeachment. In the past, Nixon had to go, but those were mostly due to political corruption and all these things. But this, the unpredictable way Donald Trump is leading Americans into this in his tenure, particularly this tenure, there may be a loss of confidence in the president, and then there can be impeachment. But I don't think, as long as, I don't predict, because that will be a very sad thing for democracy and also the leadership, Western leadership. But definitely things are, as you said, that one small thing can spark, if you see the history of Bangladesh, you talked about Abu Said, but in the past also, in the 1969-70, death of student leader Assad, for example, yes. Or Shamsul Zuha in Rajshahi, Professor Shamsul Zuha, Dhaka University. These are the two events which sparked the anti-IU movement and which ultimately led to his downfall, and then leading on to all that is our liberation war and all. A small thing can get into ignite, and that is, people should learn from history from this. I think so.
Let me have a very sound question towards someone who knows what air skills are, and of course he is retired Air Commodore Ishfaq Ilahi Chowdhury. Two Venezuelans F-16 jets flew closely over the US destroyer USS Jason Dunham in a move labeled highly provocative by the Pentagon. President Donald Trump responded by stating US forces would shoot down any aircraft posing a threat. This war
this
also
will be the highest irony, that F-16 will be, and he has deployed some F-35 in Puerto Rico, and so it will be very interesting to see how the F-16s fight the F-35s. And when you see that guided missile cruisers or the weapons that you deploy and develop, you always develop it like against a potential enemy. That means we expect these F-16s to fight, Sukhois of Russia or J-10 and all. So the whole electronic, and the same thing with the guided missiles. So the whole electronic system is designed that way. Now they have to redesign the F-35 systems and to fight the F-16. It's an irony, But if it goes to that. But about the anti-drug war, again, I will say the emphasis is on the wrong side. Because you see, if there is a demand, there will be a supply.
Yes.
So you are trying to hit Venezuela because from Venezuela the drug is going to United States, as he says. But why not address the American society itself? That means there is a huge drug market within the United States, means there is a desperation, there is a hopelessness, there is uncertainty in some people who are getting into drugs. And this reminds me of the two major war that happened in the 19th century was the Opium War. First
Yes.
Opium War and second Opium War. China was drugged by British. You know, the same Shanghai
Yes.
port, these things are still there, the evidences are there, they have kept it as a memorabilia. They forced the Chinese emperor to allow drugs into China, and he imposed certain restrictions, and they forced the war. They sent the fleet to and compelled them to agree. But see China today, is there a drug problem there?
No.
We have been there so many number of times. How did they change the whole society, and it is drug free, crime free almost, you know. So instead of addressing their own society, they are trying to hit where they, you know,
See some kind of benefit for themselves.
yeah, and as we always say, if there is a demand, there will be a supply. So first they should emphasize on that. And you know, if it ends up into another, there used to be this Pacific Command all the time, a South American Command all the time, but that was a very quiet area. That was known as the peaceful underbelly of the United States. But now it appears that that thing is also changing. Now if you have a potential fight in the China, and now you are also having a problem with Koreans, you already have a problem with India,
Yes.
you know, and now Venezuela. Now who is your friend then? You
And
see,
who is your foe?
and Western Europe also here. So I think there is need to be a lot of soul searching, and also need to have some checks within the American society, a debate that are we on the right path.